or by the distance of an ocean. In this new world, such dangerous currents have swept along faster than our efforts to contain them, and that is why we cannot afford to be divided.
You want people to be afraid of everything. Afraid of who they are, afraid of who you are, afraid of the television, afraid of everything. That way you can supply remedies for everything. You can supply the clothes they need to get the image they want because they're afraid of not being popular. You can give them the food they need because they're afraid of this thing or that thing. You can give them things to watch because business community and corporate agenda are synonymous. They nurture you. They're your father. They tell you what you like. These things are known to happen. They change the face of the corporation. They change the name. They read the books. They know how to manipulate. It's been done. It's an age-old trick. Mein Kampf, Machiavelli's The Prince. It's just changing the face of the mask. People wonder, where did our consciousness go? Where did it go? One of the problems with consciousness is that we're constantly being bombarded by talismanic words like the American dream concept, change, justice, liberty, save the earth, the whole concept of all these things, peace and security. Most of all, that corporations have human qualities protected by the 14th Amendment was supposed to protect people from slavery. However, corporations have clung onto this and they use the 14th Amendment to anthropomorphize a corporation. In other words, a corporation's immortal. Nike, McDonald's, after you're dead, they'll still be here. That should scare people. These are immortal. They're gods. A corporation is a body of people which operates legally as one human person. That way, no one single person usually is culpable for the activities of the corporation. And then we have the heads of corporations, especially the media corporations, talking about having a 95% decline from present population levels, and that would be the ideal.
And basically, none of the crops will grow. Most of the people will have died, and the rest of us will be cannibals. Civilization will have broken down. What the few people who are left will be living in a failed state like Somalia or Sudan, and living conditions will be intolerable. The droughts will be so bad there'll be no more corn growing. Stabilize the population.
The United Nations can and should play an essential role in helping the world find a satisfactory way of stabilizing world population.
We have double talk about getting our troops out of Iraq, and then after we become elected, we talk about not getting them out of Iraq. We talk about 2 years down the line.
There is no military solution in Iraq. There never was. The best way to protect our security and to pressure Iraq's leaders to resolve their civil war is to immediately begin to remove our combat troops.
I'm Casey Romano. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I go to Ashford University. I'm a student here. I'm a freshman. We just had Barack Obama talking to us. It made me feel like I was a part of America, like with other presidents, and they just kind of talk down to us like we're stupid or something. I was glad to hear that he has a plan to get our troops out of Iraq within a decent amount of time.
A corporation is bound by law to serve only the financial gains of its shareholders. You have to understand that government is a corporation run by the Federal Reserve, which is a private company. Remember, again, a corporation is bound by law to serve only the financial gains of its shareholders. And here we have David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski and Raul Emanuel all whispering into Obama's ear, reminding him that it's actually illegal for a corporate body to operate against the interest of the value of its stock, in this case the Federal Reserve and the defense contractors that own the country. Because remember, corporations are by law legal persons that live among us, and they feed upon us. They want our time, they want our conscious energy, they want our money. They're immortal. They're going to live after us. They're going to be alive. Although these corporations, or legal citizens as you want to call them, are protected by the same laws as you and me, they're not like us. They're not like us because they're immaterial. Immaterial, and in a sense, they are immortal. This is done through legalese, through words. They have a bureaucratic language that they protect themselves through. A lot of people don't know how this works. Legislation has assembled this. They've assembled guidelines to motivate the personalities of our anthropomorphized corporate citizens. And then we have our people go out and die for these guidelines. Corporations are required by law to put its profit above everything else. This includes the government, you know. including public welfare. We know that corporate persons are not governed by nature. They're not governed by they're not governed by natural tendencies like the rest of us, but are rather orchestrated paradigms. They have bureaucratic hierarchies which restrict their activities. They're structured through psychopathic tendencies and a series of judicial decisions, through whispering in the ear, as it said. It's a show of masks. Which mask do you want? You take out the toy box, you take out the big box, you pick one out. You want red today or blue?
When will you learn that me you cannot slay?
Many times the politicians' moral human tendencies are dwarfed by their corporate allegiances, causing a sort of schizophrenic split in their personality, much like a lot of the psychopaths that we arrest. And we scapegoat, like Hitler. We say he's a psychopath, however, we hire politicians here to basically do the same thing. We know that people belong to these secret elite societies because we have pictures of it. We know they don't deny it. Oftentimes that these initiations involve denying virtuous qualities and proclaiming allegiance to unconscionable figures from mythology. These people become some of the best creative minds on earth, and they're employed to immerse us in a never-ending cascade of reassuring images, beguiling illusions designed to divert our minds and to manufacture our consent. They do this through newspapers. Read all about it because we have the answers for you. That's what they say. Corporate agendas and corporations generate and interpret reality for us. From the deepest depths of the universe to the inner minutiae of our genome. They want to know everything about us. They want to help us. That's what they say. They make the music we dance to. That's because people generally don't want to think for themselves. Thinking's complicated. It's hard. We'd rather go to the cults, to the pharmacies, to the medical community, to the help, to the authorities, to the experts. That's what we do when we don't want to think. We run to the nearest authority figure, or the nearest expert, and we get the advice from somebody. That way responsibility's off our shoulders. We know through studying Freud that basically people have three parts of their consciousness. And that's the part that they show other people, the part that they hide from other people, and the part that is hidden from them. And this part that's hidden from them, the part that's hidden from us, is basically a storehouse of everything that we've ever experienced. And sometimes these things can come back to haunt us, and that's what's called repression. Sometimes we hide stuff that we don't remember we hid. That eventually will manifest in some ways that influences our behavior in a negative way. Sorcerers and politicians and advertisers and the like, they manipulate these things. These things are the archetypes of Jung. Jung talks about the collective unconscious, which is basically an archetypal hodgepodge of all this unconscious material that society shares. For instance, the mom figure, the dad figure, the hero figure, all of these things we've been talking about that advertisers and politicians manipulate because we're heavily emotionally dependent upon these archetypes for our fabric of reality. The show of masks. Which mask do you want? Again, the toy box comes out, they throw a mask on, we follow along. There's not much we can do about it because through generations our emotions have been conditioned to it, like a Pavlovian conditioning, or Skinnerian conditioning, as a psychologist would call it. Heavily triggered by imagination. Now, our imagination oftentimes, the pineal gland, it's called so because it looks like a pine cone. There's speculation that the ancient tribes used to symbolize this as a pine cone. And sometimes this becomes calcinated through the water, the calcium in the water, the fluoride, and we don't have that much of imagination after that. We become easy to dominate. Therefore, we run to Big Daddy. We run to somebody to do the thinking for us. Because we can't really think of things. Because of basically our neurologies being stunted through the food we're eating, through the images, through the philosophy we're being fed. We're really not able to do much thinking for ourselves. So we do need this father figure, this Big Daddy. This word here is Al. It's the first word for God. It just means Big Daddy.